All right, now I want to allow my wife, who is both the brains, and look at this, my kids are reaching for the mic. My wife is both the brains and the beauty of our operation. I want to allow her to say a few words. Would you help me welcome Erin Hawley?
Thank you so. Thank you so much. We are just delighted to be here. Delighted to be able to fight for the values. There we go. Delighted to be able to fight for the values that we all hold dear. And as we travel, sometimes I'll run into people and they say, where are you from or whatnot? And they'll say, oh, Josh Hawley. We wish he were our senator. And I was thinking about why that is. What is it that makes Josh and the job he's doing for us here in Missouri so special? And I think the reason is that he fights for us. He fights for the everyday American who's doing their level best to support their family, to make ends meet, to instill the values that we have in our children. And I'm so grateful to him, not only as a husband and father, but also as Missouri Senator.
It is so good to be here with you. We are so excited. We're excited to kick off this campaign. But let's be honest. Can I just give it to you straight tonight? We've got a lot of work to do because we are here in a moment of crisis for our country. Our beloved country, our great country, the greatest country in the history of the world is in crisis tonight as we meet. It is in chaos tonight as we meet. They are trying to take away our freedom to speak. They are trying to take away our freedom to worship. They're trying to take away our ability to raise our own children as we see fit. They are coming after us, after freedom-loving Americans in every state, in every corner of this country. And as we stand here right now, our southern border, a border that every sovereign nation has, by the way, every sovereign nation has a border. They've got our border wide open. It is wide open. 10 million, 12 million, 15 million illegal migrants have come across that border just in the last 3 years. And boy, do we feel it here in the state of Missouri. There are drugs in every school in this state, every single school. Fentanyl is the leading cause of death for people over the age of 18. Where's it all coming from? Across the southern border. We've got the biggest human trafficking ring in American history. Children as young as my precious little ones here are trafficked into this country. Where are they coming from? Across the southern border. Who's making the money? The cartels. Who's running this invasion? The cartels. And who's letting them? The liberals in Washington. You can't send your kids out to the bus stop without being afraid of what might happen to them. And in our schools, my gosh, in our schools, they're teaching our kids that America is systemically racist, is evil, is oppressive. They're trying to teach our kids that this country was founded in 1619. Have you heard that one? 1619, when the slave trade started. I've got news for these people. Americans are not, and America is not a nation of oppressors. America is a nation of liberators. We're proud of that. We will fight for that. We will tell that truth. But we are in a moment of severe trial. And I just want to be clear about one thing tonight, where the responsibility lies for the crisis that we are facing. It doesn't give me any pleasure to say it, but we need to be honest. We need to be truthful. The responsibility for the crisis that we are in lies with the radical Democrats, and it lies with my opponent, Lucas Kunce, and his allies, who want to force down this country, force down our throats, radical, nutty ideas and policies that are absolutely destroying the United States of America. You know it, I know it, it's why we're here. It's why we're in crisis. Let me just say a word about my opponent, Lucas Kunce. You may not have had the chance to get to know him yet. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about his record. He started running for office 20 years ago. No, literally 20, and he's a young guy. He ran his first campaign when he was 24 years old, and he hasn't stopped then. He just runs and runs and runs. Do you know those kind of people? I mean, just desperate to be in elected office, just desperate to be a politician, just desperate to be in Washington, D.C., where, by the way, he's lived for most of his adult life. In fact, he told a newspaper not long ago that he just loved living in Washington, D.C. because he said, I get to do all kinds of fancy stuff. Oh, really? Well, I tell you what. Here's some of the other things he's been doing while he's been in Washington, D.C. He has been supporting amnesty for every illegal immigrant who comes across the border. Amnesty, 100%. He wants every illegal to get it. He wants our borders to be absolutely 100% wide open. He's opposed to a border wall. He is opposed to enforcing the laws of the border. I'm not making this stuff up. These are his actual policies. And it gets even worse than that. For all of those illegal immigrants who have come into this country, the ones who are taking our jobs, who are driving down our wages, we've had multiple stabbings in the state of Missouri by illegals. We have had children literally mown down in cars by illegals. We've had assaults. We've had murders. What is Lucas Kuntz and his allies, what do they want to do? They want you to pay for their health care. No, I'm serious. He wants you to take your money, your tax money, and pay for gold-plated health care and other benefits for illegals. Now, I don't know about you, but I think prescription drugs already cost too much. How'd you like to pay for theirs? Your health care isn't good enough as it is. How'd you like to pay for theirs? You know, all I can say is you look at this guy's ideas, you look at his policy, his record when it comes to the border, and it is nuts. I mean, it's absolutely nuts, but that's Kuntz. Listen, it doesn't stop there. Here's his next grand idea, his next piece of his record that he's trying to force on the United States of America and on this state. Lucas Kuntz wants to outlaw all gas and diesel trucks in this state. I'm serious. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. Anybody drive a pickup truck? Anybody drive a tractor? Anybody been in a combine? Well, I hope you enjoy it now, because if he is elected, you can just turn over your keys right this instant. He says that oil and natural gas and the fuels that we produce right here in the United States, the fuels that we produce right here in the state of Missouri, he says those are antiquated, outdated, outmoded, causing climate change. And do you know who he really blames for all of that? You. You driving your trucks. You driving your combines. You driving your tractors. And he wants to take all of it away. All of it. And you think about what that would do to this economy. I just think about this business right here. I mean, it wouldn't exist. If you drive a truck for a living, you're out of work. If you farm for a living, you'd be out of work. Exactly right. If you want that kind of thing, stores closed, jobs lost, Kuntz's whole policy, would make China rich and America poor, because where are we going to get our energy? If we're not producing it here in the United States, where are we going to get it? China. He wants us to buy solar panels from China. He wants us to buy wind turbines from China. He wants us to buy vehicles made in China. He wants us to drive electric vehicles made in China. And if you think gas costs too much now, wait until there's no gas at all, which is his policy for this country and for this state. I just say again, these ideas are absolutely nutty. They're absolutely nutty, but it's Kuntz. Here's something else. I think that we've got a number of law enforcement who are with us tonight, and I just want to take a second now. That's right. I want to take a second now, and I just want to say, if you are now or you ever have been a member of law enforcement, would you just raise your hand so that we can see it and we can honor you? Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to the men and women standing around. We love you. We honor you. You know, these men and women who put on blue and they put on the badge and they go into danger. They run to put their lives in front of ours. They run to put themselves in the line of fire. They literally take bullets for us. I don't know about you, but I kind of think that they deserve our respect. Do you agree with that? I kind of think they deserve our support. Do you agree with that? In fact, I think they probably deserve a raise. Do you agree with that? That's not what Kuntz wants. You know, that badge that they wear, yeah, it says that they've got the authority to enforce the law, but here's something else I think it says. That badge also says that we support them. What that badge says to the crooks and to the criminals and the people who would threaten our children in our streets, what that badge says is, if you come after one of them, we're right behind them. What that badge says is we stand together to protect our towns and to protect our communities. But here's what Lucas Kuntz wants. He doesn't want to protect the badge. He doesn't want to protect our cops. He wants to allow criminals to sue the cops. Let me just say that again. He wants to allow criminals to sue the cops. Do you think that's a good idea? Are you for that? Here's what I think. We ought to be putting criminals in jail. Their rights ought to be taken away once they're arrested. They don't have the right to assault cops. They don't have the right to go after cops, and they shouldn't be suing our cops. You agree with that? My gosh. Crime crime in this country is absolutely out of control, and it's even in our state. It's even come here to our state. Why? Because nutty left-wing politicians like Lucas Kuntz have been doing things like putting these good cops, these men and women who wear blue, putting them in the line of fire and then just abandoning them, leaving them to the criminals. Do you know that Lucas Kuntz actually said that defunding the police was progress? He said that. He said, it would be a progressive agenda to defund the police. Yeah, right. Progress for who? For the criminals, yeah. For us, no. Not on our watch. That's exactly right. And so here we have it again. A guy who wants to put the cops on the firing line, leave them out there to dry, allow the criminals to sue them. I don't know about you, but I just don't think we can afford that. Do you? So help me out here. It's nuts, but it's Kuntz. Let's try it again. All of that. It's nuts, but it's Kuntz. It's Kuntz and his buddies. I'll give you one more. I could go on all day. I'll give you just one more. And this one is something that's close to my heart, and I bet yours, because you just met my family. Do you know that Lucas Kuntz, he wants to put men in women's locker rooms? And he wants to put men into girls' sports. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's good for our state? Do you think that's safe for our families? I think it's totally insane. Totally, absolutely insane. Think about this. He wants every church and school in this state, every one of them, to have to say that if a man comes into a woman's bathroom or a woman's locker room or a woman's space, you've got to let that man in. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter if your church says, wait, that's not what we believe. We want to protect women. No, he would use the force of law to force you to allow these men in. He'd do the same thing with sports. Anybody see the Olympics recently with that male boxer who punched out, broke the nose of the female? I mean, he's just destroying the whole sport. Just think about this. This would be every single girl sport in the state of Missouri. You just met my little girl. I think I would like my girl to have the opportunity to play sports. I'd like her to have the opportunity to get those leadership skills, and I'd like her to not have a bunch of creepy men following her around in their locker rooms. Do you agree with that? It's just common sense. But Kuntz not only wants to allow the men into the locker rooms, allow the men into women's sports, he also wants to allow kindergartners. He wants to force the schools to teach kindergartners about quote-unquote gender identity, that there aren't one or two genders, there's 200 or 300 in our schools to our kids. Do you agree with that? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It makes me think of a Senate hearing. You may have noticed, I don't know, at these Senate hearings, I kind of like to ask questions. Just from time to time, one or two little questions. Somebody has to do it, right? I remember a hearing not too long ago called by the Democrats on women's rights. That was the topic of the hearing, women's rights. Now, you'd think, if we're going to talk about women's rights, maybe we'd start with the right to be a woman, to play women's sports, to have spaces that are for women. I mean, basic stuff, right? No, that was not it at all. In fact, their star witness, who was a law professor from the University of California at Berkeley, a woman, very smart, I will say, very intelligent woman, very impressive. But I noticed during this hearing that she would never say the word woman. It went on for like 2 hours, and I was sitting there waiting my turn. She would never say woman. She kept saying people with the capacity for pregnancy. I'm serious. I wrote that down on my little pad. I was like, people with the capacity for pregnancy. What is that? So it got to be my turn. And I held up my pad, and I said, Professor, I just want to ask you a question. When you say people with the capacity for pregnancy, do you mean women? She looked at me. I mean, she drew herself up, and I will say my mother was a school teacher, so I know the look. She drew herself up. I thought, I am in trouble. I'm going to get it. She said, Senator Hawley, I just want to point out to you the transphobic nature of your question. Serious. This happened. Now, I wasn't even sure what that meant, and I was like, I said, wait a minute. Because I'm asking if women can get pregnant, you're calling me transphobic? You're saying I'm a bigot? Is that what you're saying? And she said, let me ask you a question. I said, well, sure, you go right ahead. And she said, do you think men can get pregnant? Now, I thought she was joking. She was 100% serious. So I said, no, I do not. And she said, see, you're a bigot. And I said, see, you're crazy. Totally crazy. It's insane. It's insane. It's nuts. It's nuts. And it would be just funny were it not for the fact that these people, even as we stand here, are forcing it into our schools, are forcing these men into our locker rooms, are destroying women's sports, and they want to do it here, and they want to do it in every state in the nation. Are you for that? I tell you what, it's nuts, but it's Kuntz. One more time, it's nuts, but it's Kuntz. That's what he wants to do. Listen, I've given you only the smallest sample of this guy's track record. And what I will say is this: for 4 long years, Kuntz and his allies, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi, that's right, those people have taken this agenda and they have jammed it down our throats. We didn't vote for it. We didn't want it. It's not good for this state. It's destroying our families. It's destroying our economy. It's destroying our children, and they are jamming it down our throats. And this November, we have the chance to say no more. No more. Not in this state, not in this country. So here's the deal. I said yesterday, after Lucas Kuntz got the Democrat nomination, he's got to be, by the way, the nuttiest guy with the nuttiest policies ever nominated by a major party in the state for the Senate. I mean, who could you think of who would be even close to it? So I said to him, I said, listen, how about this? How about you and I, Lucas, you and I get on a debate stage, the two of us, next week in Sedalia at the State Fair. One-on-one. I said, listen, simple. I'll bring a trailer. It'll be Lincoln Douglas style. If it was good enough for Lincoln, hey, it's good enough for us, right? Lincoln Douglas style. No fancy studio, no moderators, no filter, just you and me. We'll just go back and forth. And I said, hey, listen, I'll even let you go first, you know? Do you know what he said? No. He said no. Exactly. He said no. He said, oh, well, my gosh, no, I only want to do it if it's in a TV studio. Oh, I want to do it later. He wants the temperature to be 71 degrees. He wants there to be moderators. He wants to be able to wear makeup. I mean, it's just, you cannot make this up. So listen, if you're watching, Lucas, if you're watching, here's the message, man. Quit dancing around. Quit running away. Come to Sedalia next week. Come on Thursday at the fair. Debate me. One-on-one. Come on. And we will. And we'll take questions from the crowd. You bet. One stage, 2 podiums. We'll just go back and forth. I don't think he's going to do it because you know what? I think he's afraid of his positions. But, hey, he ought to be thanking me because I'm giving him the chance to defend his nuttiness. Here's the deal. We are at this moment, this inflection point moment in our country's history. And I just want to say this. I don't know how you feel. Sometimes, you wake up in the morning and you think, my gosh, what else could happen in this country? I mean, what else could go wrong? But I'll just say this. We may not live in quiet times. We may not live in smooth times, but we live in times that matter. We live in times of consequence. And thank the Lord for the opportunity to live in a time when the decisions that we make, when the choices that we make, when the courageous stand that we take matters. I don't know about you, but I want to be able to say to these little ones over here when they're older, and I want to be able to say, Lord willing, to my grandchildren one day, that in this time of trial, in this time of challenge, in this time of need for the greatest country in the history of the world, in this time, I did all that I could. We did all that we could. In this moment of need, we saved this country. That's our mission. That's our agenda. That's our mandate. So, you've got my pledge that from now to November, I will waste no time. I will spend every day fighting to save this country, fighting to take our message all across the state of Missouri. We will leave no stone unturned. We will take nothing for granted because we know that the stakes are too high. And all I ask is that you and I stand together. Let me just finish with this. We hear sometimes about what's going on in Washington and all the solutions coming out of Washington. Solutions don't come out of Washington. I've been there a few years now. They don't come out of Washington. I tell you where the solutions in this country are. They're right here. I tell you where the salvation of this country is. It's right here. The people who are going to save this country are standing right here, elbow to elbow, right in front of me. This is it. You are the best hope of America. And when the left says that we're deplorables and we're flyover country and we cling to our guns and our gods and our religion, I would just say the last point, I do. Guilty as charged. But what I say to them is, we represent the hope of America. We represent both the history of America and the future of America. And with God's help, we will save America beginning this year. God bless you. God bless the great state of Missouri. And God bless America.